That's what I want people to realise. I am the real deal, and I want to prove that. That's a massive thing for me, though.
Flex Lewis, you're straight out the lair. Today's guest is a young phenom in the sport of boxing with an undefeated record of 7-0, 6 by way of knockout. He's taken the industry by storm, and having got the attention of UFC president Dana White, is now the face of boxing for UFC Fight Pass. On this episode, we talk about his raise to fame, his flying the flag for Ireland, and the pressure that comes with it. He's the youngest guest we've ever had on this podcast, and he's earned his spot, just as he's earned his first title belt. Here's a podcast with King Callum Walsh. Straight out the lair, joined by my man, King Callum Walsh, all the way from Ireland. My man.
Absolutely, boss. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I know it's Sunday, but we made it. We made it.
It is Sunday, and off air we were joking because not many people get me on the weekend, especially shoot a podcast. But obviously you were the exception, my friend. And as we were joking about earlier too, you know, 2 accents on here. Definitely going to be subtitles for this episode, no question.
Yeah, you'll have to. Once we get deeper into the podcast, it's gonna keep getting worse, I'd say.
Absolutely, my friend. And that accent of yours is does that get you in trouble or get you out of trouble?
It's good and bad, you know. I remember me and my friends, you know, they came over to LA to visit me, and so when you're around a group of American girls and you don't want to know what you're saying, you can kind of, you know, talk a bit faster and they don't understand, but. Nah, it's good. It's good and bad. It
is. Well, my wife understands every single word that I say now, because every time I go back to Wales, I click straight back into that fast talk, that fast accent, and then I come back here and everybody's like, "Yo, you've been home. You've been home. We all know. You got to slow your ass down." But unfortunately for me, to get out of trouble now, I'm also getting into trouble. But I can't talk myself out of trouble. I'll be like, "What do you think I said?" No, I didn't say that. But anyway, my man, you are obviously shot to stardom, but before we go into, you know, the early beginnings, you have a fight coming up, right?
Yeah, I have a fight coming up August 26th.
Yeah, very impressive fight. Fight prior to that, of course, and man, there's so many ways we can take this podcast, because for me personally, I'm a big fan. Obviously, for me, looking at you and your shot, like I said, the stardom has been so impressive. How you've been able to handle that success, how you've been able to do your media days, takes me back to, you know, me coming out here at 20 years old and getting thrown in front of the media. But I couldn't speak like you, my friend. And I didn't have as much media on my ass, you know, or literally turning up to the gym to interview me, because obviously Wildcard is where you're training. Every day there's a camera, I suppose, popping up and wanted to ask you questions. And how hard was it for you to adjust from being in Ireland, obviously having your fame in Ireland, but then coming over to the United States and, you know, having all this madness that's now surrounding you?
Yeah, see, that's actually the funny thing. When I came to the US first, I was 20 years old, and I had no intentions of even turning pro. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was just boxing amateur back home, and COVID hit and I just didn't know what to do, so I just came out here, and my plans were always to try and qualify for Olympics. And next thing, sure, I was just out here training with Freddie Roach, and I got the feel for the pro game, and then everything just happened so quick, you know, and I just got thrown in the deep end straight away, as you say, with all these cameras and all the media, and next thing, Dana White, UFC, and I'm just, you know, but it's all right. I think I adjusted to it well, you know, and I feel comfortable, you know. I don't ever feel too much pressure or anything. I'm happy. I'm enjoying it.
So you don't feel the pressure at all in anything?
I don't know. I feel like this, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I feel like I'm here to do this. So I'm just doing my job, you know. I'm a professional fighter. My job is to fight, and I'm just doing my job. So
when you came over, you said during COVID. Was that in the middle of COVID or just the tail end or beginning? Where was it?
Right in the middle of COVID. Sure. I had to stay in Mexico for 2 weeks before I could even enter the US.
Oh damn! So tell us about that era. So you came over from the UK, quarantined in Mexico, went into California, and I know that California was rough, especially with the COVID laws. So how was training for you in California during that time?
Yeah, so I just literally found out I could come to LA if I quarantined in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, into Mexico. You know, I was 19 years old. I was just about to turn 20, so I actually spent my 20th birthday in Mexico just by myself, just quarantining.
On your own?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh man.
But I was down there just training with a couple of Mexicans, doing a bit of sparring and stuff. But before that, sure, all the gyms back home were closed because of COVID. You couldn't even train. You couldn't go to a gym. You could barely leave your house. So I had no training. Me and my friends were just out drinking and doing whatever for months. And next thing I'm in Mexico training with these Mexicans running, and I get up to LA and I show up to the wildcard. And wildcard is closed off too, only for Freddie's fighters and whoever. There's no like random people coming in. So I was lucky that I got in there. And I show up first day, met Freddie Roach. I met him when I was 15. So I always knew, you know, if I was ever going to go to LA, I was going to come back to Freddie. And I show up the first day, and I'm just thinking, I'm a bit nervous, you know, I'm meeting Freddie Roach, and I want to ask him, can I train at the gym? And he looks at me and he says, yeah, you can train, but look, it's a Wednesday and it's a sparring day, so if you want to train in my gym today, you have to spar. And this was like I only had 2 weeks of training in Mexico, and I have been months of just drinking and just doing whatever back home. And so I was still only used to doing like three-minute rounds. Like as an amateur, you only fight 3 rounds. So I get in there, and Freddie's like, right, you can spar this guy here. And at the time, the guy was like 15-0 as a pro. I'm just straight out amateurs, just no training, not even fit. And went in there 6 rounds, and man, I was tired after the first one.
6 rounds.
6 rounds, and I was tired after the first one. I know, but I just toughed it out. You know, I knew I was there. From Freddie Roach was watching me. I have to just get the job done, and he was happy, and I've been there ever since.
So when was that? Sorry.
That was 2021. It would have been like around March 2021.
And during that time, how many athletes were in that gym?
There was like 10 or 12 or something like that only, yeah.
So it was like a true lockdown.
Yeah, because upstairs in the wildcard is for public, and downstairs then is for Freddie's fighters.
Yeah.
So like when I went in there was nobody even in there, and he just brought someone in to spar me, so I was like really quiet.
So for you to pass that test, what was it that Freddie said he seen in you back then? Because obviously you just came in, you asked, he didn't really know you from anything but, you know, the stats that he probably read from you, right? So you walking in, you get that permission. That's kind of like my equivalent to leg day. Somebody says, hey, Flex, I want to train with you. I say, okay, turn up on leg day. So that is your equivalent of your sparring day. So what did Freddie say to you after that first training session?
Yeah, so after that first spar, obviously, I wasn't happy with the spar, you know, because I wasn't fit. I felt like, I'm after not putting on my best performance here on my first day, as well, not knowing I was going to be sparring. And but Freddie, he was happy, you know, he's seen the potential in me. He knew I was young, he knew I had a big amateur background, but still he knew that I wasn't there to turn pro. You know, that was the mad thing. I told him I have no intentions of turning pro. I just want to get a few months training here and go back home and try to qualify for Olympics.
So what was it that made you change that direction? Was this something you seen or said or around? It
was just when I was there training with Freddie, and you know, I got so used to the pro training, and I was training around so many pros, and I was sparring with high level pros, and I was doing very well, and I decided maybe, you know, this is what I should do. But and as well, in between all this, my visa got kind of So I know
all about that too, man.
So I was actually, funny enough, I was actually stuck here for like 18 months. So I couldn't even go home for 18 months. And
stuck.
Yeah, stuck. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, but sure, I told my family and everybody back home, I was like, I'll be back there. I'm going to go for a couple of weeks. And 18 months later, I come home 3-0 as a professional.
Mate, your story, there's so many relatable things for me, because I kind of said the same thing to my mum and dad when I came over here too at 20 years old. I was like, I'm going to be here for 90 days. I was there for 90 days, but I went back for 2. I went back on that plane and came back out. But I knew when I came here that I needed to be here for me to fulfill my dreams and everything else. Again, I also came out unknowing I was going to be a bodybuilder, even though I achieved what I achieved, just like you in the amateurs.
Even though you were humongous.
I don't know about that. I don't see it, right? So
look at the pictures.
But still, I was going back and forth, but before I kind of, it was actually the first trip out here I knew. I came out of Venice Beach, Goals, you know, Santa Monica, and my first experience was walking out, because the owner of Gold's Gym had a house on Venice Beach. And I would walk out in the morning, the first morning there, and there's all these chicks going on rollerblades past in bikinis. I'm thinking, what the hell is this world like? You know, the perception that we had for America, maybe it's differently from, you know, for me, but, and then coming out here, it was wild. So there was a lot of like this unbelievable lure for me to come back, but it was mainly because of the training, the athletes, and the abundance of knowledge that was out here that I couldn't get in the UK. And I'm sure that would be the same for you, right?
Yeah, that was definitely like one of the main reasons I decided LA too. Just the amount of opportunity. You know, I knew if I was to turn pro or even just continue boxing back home, like what was I going to do? You know, it's not big enough.
Yeah.
Out here, like the opportunities I'm after getting since I came to LA is massive. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if I didn't, you know, just get stuck here for 18 months.
Well, if you were stuck in here in this gym, you'd be doing another sport. But no, but again, I became aware of you through friends of mine in the UK. I got my finger on the pulse with a lot of different sports. I actually have a 1-of-1 boxing. Well, I'm undefeated in boxing. I had one fight.
Oh,
yeah, I'll keep it at that though. That's done.
When was that?
Oh shit! I was 15 years old, and my legs were all my weight.
Yeah,
So I was fighting guys that were
kilos.
yeah. I was fighting guys who were much taller than me. So I had to fight in the pocket, dirty boxing. But I truly admire and respect the sport of boxing. Obviously, at that time when I was growing up, boxing was the main combat sport. UFC now have obviously taken off, and probably had it been for, you know, maybe if UFC was around when I was younger, I would have probably fallen into training for that. How hard was it for you not to get sucked into all the mixed martial arts growing up, especially in Ireland?
Yeah, like that's the funniest thing. You know, I'm a boxer, but I don't watch boxing. I'm a massive UFC fan.
Really?
You know, my whole life I've never watched boxing. Even right now, I don't watch any of the fights. But every UFC I watch, since I was about 11, 12 years old, since McGregor was in the UFC. You know,
Of course.
watching all them fights, and then as I got a bit older, me and my friends, every time there's UFC, we're all watching them, and it's just funny how it all happened, you know, because me being a massive UFC fan, and now I'm here working with Dana and everything. It's just mad considering I'm a boxer.
Yeah.
And but I never trained MMA ever. You know, I just knew how to box. I've been boxing since I was 6. That's just all I knew. But I'm starting to do a bit now. You know, I'm starting to get a bit of crossover training.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know that one of your training partners is Tony Ferguson. Massive fan of him too, and he has such an orthodox style of training. Has he, with his training style, rubbed off on you, or is he trying to bring you into his world? What's the deal there?
And, you know, I couldn't even describe his training style. You know, Tony's a good friend of mine though. He's like we're good friends, but his training style, man, is unique to him. I don't even think I could take that on. But you know, being around all these fighters, you know, I have a feel for the UFC. You know, I just love to learn the sport of MMA. You know, just you wouldn't realize how hard it is, all the jiu-jitsu and I've done a bit of wrestling, not much, but like I could box all day, you know, I could punch all day, but once you start grabbing onto people, and you get tired quick, and 5-minute rounds too. It's a tough sport.
So you've done a little bit of wrestling.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was obviously not an island.
No, out here with Tony. Yeah,
with Tony.
Yeah.
What was it like wrestling Tony?
He's strong. I'm sure he was a state wrestler. You know, he's like that's the American thing though. They all wrestle, you know, in college and school and stuff. We don't have that back home.
No, rugby was the closest thing.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but we should really that should really start back home. You know, like it's a big advantage if you want to go into MMA. You know, if you have that wrestling background. But even just back home in SBG, I was doing some wrestling just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, and I posted one video of me just throwing a few kicks and stuff, and all the comments were like, "Oh, you need grappling, But I actually wasn't. There should be a few videos coming out of that.
Oh shit! Look out!
Oh, yeah.
So is that something that you think you'll throw yourself into the mix of in the future, maybe?
You know, since the start of my career, I've always said like I want to be the fella that will take any challenge. You know, I'll accept any challenge. I will fight anyone, and I do. When boxing right now though is my main priority, you know, I'm good at boxing. I'm winning. I just won a belt in my last fight, and we're going up in the boxing world. So definitely right now, boxing's my main priority. But you know, once I keep getting bigger and I get to I win all I can, you know, that's when you can throw your hand at something else. You know, these big fights, you know, we could make something crazy happen if in a couple of years now, if I'm massive, you know, I'm after winning all I can in boxing, and we could make something. You know, there's a lot of UFC fighters coming to the boxing world, but there's no boxers going to the cage. So maybe I could be one of the only ones that goes and maybe is successful.
What about one of these guys like Logan Paul, or if they called you out to do?
Man, do you know, I watch these fights, and I would, for the money these boys are getting, I would fight all of them in the same night. I would fight 10 of them in the same night.
Line them up.
I would fight 10 of them in the same night for just one of their fight purses, man. I would fight the 10 of them. Oh.
It just sounds so much better with the Irish accent, doesn't it, tell you? I'll fight them all.
I would fight the whole lot of them in the same night. I'll tell that, and it would be the easiest payday in my life.
Do you think that's something that could realistically happen?
You know, everything's possible. You know, it's like,
yeah.
I know these boys. They're probably, you know, especially Dave. I know Jake Paul has a bit of beef there with Dana White too, and me and Dana. You know, we could make that happen, but
yeah,
it'd be easy. You know, it'd be just too easy. It'd just be an easy payday.
Easy payday, he says. Talking of Dana White, Dana White is one of your sponsors. Howler Head is one of your sponsors. Two names that are absolutely massive now, getting global recognition and the marketing that's behind them. How did that all end up happening?
So that's actually, so I came out here, then I made my pro debut December 2022, or no, December 2021 actually, because I came here in February and I made my debut then in like December, and after that I made my debut on one of Tom Loeffler's shows. Didn't really know what I was doing. I had no plans, and I'm sure I finished my opponent like 20-something seconds, or it was like 27 seconds or something like that. And
yeah, we got to put that clip down below.
Yeah, we had a big Irish crowd there, you know, and the fans were going crazy, and Tom he's seen something in me, and it was December, so he was going to have a St. Patrick's Day show in March, and we got in talks, and next thing I'm signed with Tom Loeffler. I'm signed the contract, and Tom actually they were working on the UFC Fight Pass deal, because that's why my fights are on UFC Fight Pass. So Tom brought me to Vegas to meet with Dana, meet with the Fight Pass people, and we just got talking, and Dana loves the Irish, and
he does.
Yeah, so we were talking, and next thing you know, I'm 3 fights in, and Tom calls me, he says, look, Dana's going to come on board with Howler Head Whiskey as your main sponsor. And I was thinking, holy shit, man, I'm Dana White, a man I've watched on TV, I've seen with Conor McGregor for so many years, and now he's massively involved in my career, and he's a massive help too.
Yeah, I can see that relationship and the love he has for you. It's amazing, because obviously Dana, I know obviously he's a promoter, but he was a boxing promoter starting off. He loves boxing. Obviously, I think that's how him and your manager met, right? Through that scene. But before we go all over the place, I want to talk about that relationship you have with Dana, because Dana, that Dana has his guys, and I can see that you were one of his guys, because you are everywhere, every fight, every promotion, or any time he can put you in front of somebody, you're there. We all know that you're special, but what is it that makes you different to the rest? You know,
just obviously the fact that Dana has all the UFC fighters. I'm a boxer, and people are wondering why is Dana pushing this boxer? But it's because boxing. You know, I'd love to see Dana get involved in boxing, because with that, the UFC mindset, you know, where the best fight the best. This doesn't happen enough in boxing. You know, everybody's pussies and they're worried about this and that. Yeah. And I don't want to fight this fella. Like, your job is to fight, you know, and that's a massive thing with me. My job is to fight. I have a fight August 20th. I don't even know who I'm fighting. You know, I'm sure Tom and Dana, they probably know who I'm fighting, but I have no idea. They tell me today I'm going to show up and fight because it's my job. What am I supposed to say? No, I don't pick and choose opponents. There's no problem. But that's the thing. Like, that's why Dana pushes me, because he knows that I'm not like. I'm bringing this like the UFC mindset. You know, the best. I want to make these big fights happen, and obviously with Dana White helping, and a promoter like Tom Loeffler, you know, who has had a lot of great fighters, you know, like Triple G and the Klitschko's, and you know, I think we are going to change boxing a lot. You know, I'm going to make these big fights happen, and even though I'm young, but I'll fight anybody, and I would love for Dana to get involved in boxing a bit more. I
would love to see that too. Again, I'm a massive fight fan. There's 2 sports that I follow religiously: UFC and rugby. And everybody who knows me knows that UFC is kind of like above everything. I hate to say that as a rugby boy, but grew up playing rugby, and then when I came over to the United States, I got straight involved with the whole UFC side of things. So I have seen, you know, Dana make sure that the best fight the best. And I've also seen boxing, well,
Doesn't happen.
guys who should have fought years ago end up happening way past their prime. And with you, I think it's so refreshing to have a fighter that's calling everybody out or asking for fights. You know, obviously they're trying to make sure that you level up. But you're asking for bigger fights, just throw me in with the deep end. And 7 fights in, undefeated, 6, you know, by way of knockout. Mate, and already sponsored by Dana White, Howler head, global recognition, you know, the face of Fight Pass Boxing.
But
incredible.
That's what boxing needs, you know. Boxing needs these big fights to happen. Or like that's why the UFC is so good. That's why the UFC is massive, right? That's why UFC is number 1 right now. Yeah. Because every show, no matter what card you go to,
stacked.
Good fights. Prelims, everything, good fights.
Yeah.
We don't have that in boxing, and that's why you need people like me to step up and bring these fights back.
Absolutely. Why do you think that is, though?
I have no idea, man. Boxers are just, man, I don't know what's happening. Especially where I'm from. You know, I'm from Ireland.
Fighting Irish, my man.
It's just fighting. You know, it's just a fight.
Grew up fighting in school, grew up everything.
The thing about boxing, everybody's afraid to get a loss. You know, everyone's afraid to lose. Sure, in the UFC, you see champions with 10 losses, you know, 7 losses.
Yeah.
I think that it doesn't matter if you're fighting at a top level and you lose. You can just come straight back, you know, as long as you lose at the top level. Obviously, if I lost a fight right now, I'm not even nowhere near the top level. It'd be bad for my career. But if you're fighting for world titles, or you're fighting at the very top level and you take a loss, who gives a flick? You know what I mean? You lost to a very good fighter, someone that is now a world champion. You just come back, you know. But that's the worst thing about boxing. Everybody's afraid to lose that. Oh, it's the whole Floyd Mayweather shit, you know, 50, you know, or whatever. But like, it shouldn't matter at the top level, and that's what we like. That's what boxers need to realize, that the top level, you just have to make these fights happen. And if you lose, you just come back and go again. You
mentioned something earlier about, you know, not knowing your opponent. How do you mentally prepare for the fight? And if you don't know if somebody's a southpaw or fighting, you know,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter. My last fight, I was fighting an orthodox and I sparred a southpaw the whole camp.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, man. Once I am ready, once I am fit and I'm ready, it does not matter who I get in there with. My Boston fight, 2 weeks, I was sparring all orthodox. 2 weeks notice, I was fighting a southpaw.
Yeah, southpaw.
I mean, it doesn't matter, man. Once I'm ready, 10-round fights too. You know, you can just get used to it in the first round or two. You know, I've been boxing so long. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old. I have, you know, the boxing mind where I can adapt to any situation once I'm in there. And especially now, coming from, I had a massive amateur background.
Yeah.
Coming to Freddie Roach, with the knowledge that man has, mixing these two styles, you know, I could get in there. I could get in there and box for 10 rounds if I wanted and keep my opponent there. Or I could get in and just do what I'm doing and just demolish him.
Yeah, you have over 100 amateur fights, right?
120, yeah.
120. I think, and 100, that just blows my mind. 120 walkouts, 120 set of nerves for me anyway. And I think at 22 years old, that's unbelievable. That's like a Mexican boxing record right there. I mean, so you started at 6. When was your first fight?
11.
11.
And I lost.
You lost?
What
was that like?
Oh, shit, but I think I won like 20-something in a row after that.
Yeah, but that loss, was that loss the kick in the ass that you needed? Or was that just kind of part of the process?
You know, I lost the first fight, and I think that can make or break you, you know.
Yeah.
You're 11 years old, you lose your first fight. Your family's there, everybody, you know,
friends,
they bring you friends. You're just 11, you're a child, man. I remember after thinking, crying and stuff, you know, you're just a child and you see the other guy celebrating. But, you know, after that, I didn't want to lose again. And, you know, I've lost 10 fights my whole career. 10 fights, and obviously some of them were when I was very young. But, you know, I don't like to lose, and I think losing that first fight when I was 11 years old was probably the best thing that happened to me, because I started off not ever wanting to feel that. You know, if it's different if somebody has never lost, you know, you've never felt that, you don't know what it is like to lose. That's mad. You have to lose to be able to enjoy the win.
100%. I mean, you've also, and we all know stories, whether you know somebody personal who has had incredible run. And I think if you just keep winning and you kind of skip a training year and you get away with it, you win another fight, then it becomes the normality and the mindset of, I don't have to put 100% in because, you know, I've got it. I've got the instincts, I've got a fight IQ, whatever it would be that you lean on. But I think, like you said, a loss is probably sometimes more powerful than a win. I remember losing my first Olympia when it was 202. And controversial, because every move comes second place, so it's controversial, right? Controversial. My mother was there. She said I should have won.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
But I came back. I came back that next year, and they moved the weight class up to 212, and I never lost since. But that loss was probably one of the most pivotal part of my career. So, is there any moments in your career that has been pivotal in kind of not in the sense of like a high emotion, more of a low that's learned you to appreciate the good times more?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I won 6 national titles, but I didn't win my first one till I was 15 years old. From when I was 11 to 15, I was trying to win national titles, you know, and that's when I took my losses, you know, but that's what gave me, you know, the drive to keep going. Even though I was so young, I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
I wanted to win. I wanted to keep going. And you know, when you're so young, that is a thing. Like, I was always like, there's different championships. All right, back in Ireland, you have the county championships, and then you have the provinces. You know, you have the Munster championships, and then you have the nationals. So you have to win in the counties to go through to the provinces, and then you have to win there to go to the nationals. And it was like every year I was like 11, 12, I would lose here, I would lose this one, I wouldn't get to the nationals. And then one year then I'm sure I was 15 or 16, won my first national title. And man, that was the best feeling in the world, because I was after trying so hard, you know, for so many years. Even though I was so young, I was still, all the time I'd lose, I'd go back in the gym, when's the next fight. And I think that is after helping me a lot now that I'm older, you know, that I've been just training so hard my whole life to win. And I've taken the losses, and I know how it feels to lose, that I don't ever want to feel that now again. And 15, won my first national title, won 3 more. I won 3 national titles the same year.
Yeah.
Went to a European Championships.
Won Europeans, yeah.
When I was 17, then I won a European gold medal. That was actually a crazy story too at the Europeans. So I fought 4 fights in 5 days. So I fought Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They gave me Thursday off, and I fought again on Friday.
Appreciate it.
And I fought the final on a Friday against a Bulgarian in Bulgaria. I think all the finalists, right? There was me, all Russians, and a couple of Bulgarians. I was the only, you know. It's always like, that's always the way at the championships. Always the Russians in the final and whoever's the home fighters. But yeah, I fought 4 fights in 5 days, and every day you had to make weight.
Every day
you fight, you have to make weight. So I made weight Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I could eat a bit on Thursday, and fought in the final on the Friday, and I beat the home favourite, a unanimous decision, 5-0. So
on his home turf.
On his home turf, yeah.
Beautiful, man. What was that like for you to have that European title at that time?
Oh man, that was the best feeling ever. You know, I just before my last fight, I was thinking about it. You know, bringing that European gold medal back to Cork. You know, back to Ireland where I'm from. Just standing there and having these people, you know. And I thought about, I was fighting for the belt in my last fight, and I was thinking, you know, I posted, you know, in 2017 or whatever, I brought back the European gold medal, and after this next fight, I'm going to bring back a WBC belt, and I did.
Congratulations on that, by the way. I was actually making my way to that, but since we popped that, you just won that belt last fight. Congratulations on that. And with that now, 7 fights in and already a WBC champion. Has that even set in yet? Yeah,
you know, just it was good to bring that belt home. You know, it was like I was always fighting, and I was coming home just after winning the fight, but taking something from over here, you know, an American title, you know, a regional title, a WBC. That's what it is, a WBC American. So it's so actually taking that from here and bringing it back to my own country. You know, I felt like I'm after doing something, and I'm just got rated 20 in the world by the WBC. So after 7 fights, I'm top 20 in the world. You know, it's nearly unheard of. There's not a lot of people doing that.
That truly is unheard of. The amount you've scaled so fast in this sport is amazing. And that has nothing to do with your relationships, because as we've already mentioned, you've got some incredible people that are around you pushing your marketing, but they're not there in the ring with you.
Yeah, that's the thing, I think when I signed with Tom, they didn't know really what they had. They thought we're going to have to take the slow road. But as I said to them, if you put somebody in front of me that is not worthy of being in the ring with me, I'm just going to demolish him, man. It's going to be 30-second job or 1 minute. It's not worth my while. And even my last opponent was a veteran. He had over 60 pro fights.
No joke.
Yeah, he upset a few prospects.
Yeah.
He went the distance with Kell Brook and arguably beat him. So. And I got him out there in 4 rounds.
4 rounds.
No, nobody's done that to him.
No.
And that's what I want people to realize, like, that this is not hype, I'm not just being hyped up by Dana White. This is not like a hype train. I am the real deal, and I want to prove that. That's a massive thing for me, though. When I was in Boston, I remember somebody said to me, they were like, oh, they watched my fight and they were like, oh, you're actually a good fighter. No, it's not all internet stuff. And I was like,
he said that to you?
Oh, and I was just after the fight, just going into my hotel room. He was like, oh, I seen your fight. You're actually a good fighter.
You're actually all right, man.
And I was like, oh, thanks, I suppose. Yeah, whatever. But that's what I want to prove. That it's not all hype. I'm not getting this hype for no reason.
Yeah.
I'm a man of my word. I said I'll fight anybody, and I want to prove that I am one of the best fighters in the world.
Let's talk about Boston. You fought there on St. Patrick's Day weekend in arguably, Ireland's version of Ireland in Boston, on St. Patrick's Day, head in the card. Crazy. And not only that, you were doing activations prior to that, media activations, where yourself and Dana and the Howler head crew were all doing something where they were that punch machine, right? I don't even know what the hell the name of it is. The punch machine.
Yeah, the punch machine. So that was actually Peter Welch's gym in Boston. So I just went there for a media day.
Yeah.
And I seen they had a punch machine.
Oh, shit.
Man, I love them punch machines. I've made a bit of money off them now in the years. But so I seen it, and one of the guys in the gym had a high score on it for months.
How much?
I just hit it. I just hit it for the laugh. They were like, oh, the fella there has a high score for months. Nobody can break it. I hit it once and just broke the high score. And there was boys snapping in there. I could see your man was sick upstairs. He just seen some young fella come in, and you know what? I hit it with the right hand as well. I didn't even hit it with the left.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I never hit him with the left hand. Just want to keep that good, just in case. Yeah. So I broke that high score, and then I went back to Wildcard for my training camp, and everybody was trying to break the score. So Dana decided, be a good idea for the media day, see how many people can try to break the score, and he was given a prize money, $5,000. So Dana posted, he said, right, everybody show up to Peter Welch's gym, try and break Callum Walsh's high score, and winner will get $5,000. And I commented on the post, I said, if nobody breaks it, do I get the $5,000? And sure enough, nobody broke it.
And you did.
Oh yeah, $5,000 richer.
Fair play to Dana. He's such a great guy. I've had the pleasure of meeting him so many times since moving, actually prior to moving to Vegas and now moving to Vegas. He's genuinely, what you see is what you get with him, and he just loves the combat sports. Talking about that and kind of putting more, emphasis on this event that he done. There was a shit ton of people that turned up to beat that record.
And some of the biggest fellas I've ever seen.
Big boys.
Max Crosby hit it. Yeah.
Max Crosby, the Raiders player, great player. I seen that Instagram clip of him hitting that. He actually put a decent number up there.
Yeah, because he's massive.
He's a big boy.
Massive. I got a picture with him there yesterday, and I looked tiny next to him. He is massive, but you know what? I was delighted though he didn't break the score, because that man doesn't need $5,000.
No,
like
he
me.
does not.
That $5,000 would have been for me, but for him,
I think his last contract is in the 8 figures. I don't know, probably more.
Yeah, I seen him a while ago actually at a sneaker con, and he was like, "Oh, you buying some?" I was like, "No, I am."
He probably is.
Yeah, you get me something.
Yeah. It's a spare change for Max.
Do you know what? I actually, it's so funny. We were at the UFC yesterday, and I got a chain that says King, or I got it as a gift off a company, Ice London, and they actually hand delivered to me and everything. So, and here I am with this chain thing. Oh yes,
the man.
Oh, wear it to the UFC.
Yeah.
Next thing, here comes Max Crosby in the door. The biggest chain I've ever seen.
Oh, shut up.
Biggest chain I've ever seen. It was actually on my Instagram story. I was like, I thought I had a nice chain, and this fella then shows up.
Did you do this?
Yeah, I tucked it in.
Yeah, that's what I would do as well, tuck it in. No, Max is a good people. He is a genuine fight fan. He's always there at all the UFC fights, and if he's obviously not playing the same day. In fact, he's played the same day and attended some UFC fights. So you just goes to show that guy's passion for the sport, and obviously, you know, he was there in Boston to support you. Actually, I will be there for your next fight too. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, definitely. He texted me actually. He said,
yeah,
up there.
I'm pumped for that, mate.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
pumped for that.
They're good shows, man. There's a good crowd there. There's a good buzz.
A lot of Irish guys coming over.
Oh yeah.
I bet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with that being said, no, that card, that St. Patrick's Day card, was there any nerves going into that? Because you were the face, obviously at the time, 5 fights in, right? That was your 6th.
Yeah, that was my 6th, yeah.
6 professional fights in. Yes, obviously you got a massive amateur, but no, you're talking about the big boys. You are the face. You're all over the posters. Dana White's posting you on your Instagram. You've got thousands of fans that are turning up the day before to beat the record on the punch machine, yet you were still there laughing, joking. Was there any nerves?
There was a last minute opponent change too.
And a last minute opponent change. Sorry, yes, you're right.
But no, there was no nerves, man. I didn't feel the pressure, you know. I enjoy it, you know. All the hard work is done, you know. I put in the work in the camp, and like I said a while ago, once I'm ready, it doesn't matter who I fight, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I was actually asleep in the dressing room before that fight.
I was just about to ask, what's it like backstage for you?
I just got to sleep, man. I just chill out. Just even the day of my fights, I just sleep all day. Just wake up and go to the fight. In the locker room, I was just sleep. They woke me up. They were like, "You just start warming up."
Do you know the funny thing is, that's what I used to do backstage too.
Oh yeah.
I'd find a corner, sleep, and as soon as they started lining up, I would just pop up and do my thing. For me, the more I thought about it, the more nervous I had. But I was in my zone. I had my headphones on. Nobody's with me. 2 different worlds, but not that I'm trying to, you know. But I feel like controlling your nerves is such a massive thing in any sport. I think for me of old, when I run for my country and I used to play rugby high level, nerves always got the best of me. And as the years have gone on and throw myself into, you know, things that made me uncomfy, like speaking and podcasts and stuff, now I enjoy the process of all these things that truly used to make me, like, again, not fearful of it, just be like, man, this is part of it. I don't really enjoy it, but I'm going to do it. So everything I see you doing, though, from, you know, everything outside the ring, in the ring, it seems like you've always got a kick to your step. You're always smiling. You're always on your P's and Q's. Is that something you've always kind of had, that gift of that charm?
You know, I think it's just something I've learned recently, you know, just to enjoy it, you know. Even the thing where you're saying control your nerves, it's, when I look back, that's what I think, you know, when I look back on all this stuff in years to come, I'll be happy that I enjoyed it, you know, that I wasn't worried about this and that. And you know, I didn't, like, back home, it was a different story, you know. Back home, I used to work 7 days a week. I used to work on a fishing boat. And the fact now I don't work, you know, I just fight. And I'm just enjoying life, you know. Everything is good, and I don't have to wake up in the morning and go to work. I just go to the gym and I do what I love, you know. I box and I train, and that's why I think, you know, it's easy to not get nervous, because I'm just enjoying every moment of it.
Do you think that humble upbringing has served you? Definitely.
You know, I've worked for everything I have, you know, and I think that has definitely served me well. The fact that I've had to always work for everything. I've never took an easy road here. Like, I worked 7 days a week from when I was about 16 years old on a fishing boat.
Tell us about that.
And that was hard work, you know. I used to wake up. I was talking to the guy I was fishing with when I was home. We're actually going to do a video, like a YouTube video or something, just showing like what I actually used to do, you know.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so I used to wake up. I had no car now at this time, so I used to wake up in the morning. About 4 o'clock we used to go out, and I used to walk from my house down to the dock, and it would just be me and one other fella on the boat. And we just go hauling pots, man, crabs and lobsters. Yeah, so just hauling pots all day.
That's no joke.
But that's what made me strong, you know. I got the strength from that, and I used to go out there in the morning from about 4 o'clock in the morning till about 8 or 9, depending on how quick we do it. I would come home and sleep, and I would go to the boxing gym. And then I bought my first car. From working, I bought my first car for €600. A little Clio, man. It was a grand job, to be fair. It wasn't a bad car, no. Bought off an old woman for €600. And I was 17, and the insurance prices back home.
Oh my God! Yeah.
7,000 I had to pay for insurance on it.
$7,000 on a Clio.
On a Clio, man. It's
1.2.
Like 1.2.
These Americans have no clue what we're talking about, by the way.
And it was like 2004.
my producer's like, what the fuck is that 1 point? What's that 1.2?
The Americans
it's
have
an
that in the
engine
lawnmower.
size.
Yeah, Americans have that in the lawnmower.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I used to have a Vauxhall Nova, and I saved, I put all that shit, the bells and whistles in it, and my insurance was just like yours, mate. Yeah, I didn't claim anything that they don't know, but nobody do. But
I had to, that's why my insurance was like €650 a month. I was working 7 days a week, man, just to pay the insurance to drive myself to the gym.
Wow. So you were 15 when you were doing that. You were doing the crab, pulling the crab.
I was about 16, yeah. 16 when I started, 16, 17, 18, and then...
And you were still fighting?
Yeah, I used to just take, like, if I was fighting, I'd have to take a Saturday off.
Okay.
Or else I'd have to go out early in the morning before we'd leave to go to the fight.
So I'm guessing you'd fight Saturday and you'd be back on the boat Sunday?
Oh, yeah. Straight back on. No, like, because that was the thing. It was only me and one other fella. Just both of us, you know. If I didn't show up, he can't fish. And actually right now I was talking to him. It's actually crazy enough. I was talking to him like last week, and he actually has 4 fellas working from now doing what I used to do.
Wow.
He has 4 boys doing what I used to do myself when I was 16, 17 years old.
What's this guy's name?
Bert.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Bert Rans there. You'll never be as big as Bert, by
you know, this clip's made his day, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's going to record this, going to play it all over his Instagram. See, boys?
Yeah,
come on, yeah. But so at 16 you were doing that. Then the time period of your amateur boxing now taking off, where did you transition from? I know you said COVID slowed everything down, but where was the process? Because for me, it's very interesting to hear you have 120 amateur boxing, and you've never watched much of any boxing.
Never.
That just blows my mind.
Just watch UFC, man. It's way better. I mean, it's just better fights, man. Better, and it's just because me and my friends we just love the UFC and boxing, man. I just like probably if there was a massive fight on, you know, I would watch it, but like. Just regular boxing, just whatever's going on. Like, I would just watch a normal UFC card. That's the best thing. You can just watch whatever. But just normal boxing fights, no.
So who were the guys you were watching at that age?
When I was younger, McGregor.
McGregor.
McGregor was it, you know, every time McGregor fought, man, we were up at the crack of dawn. I remember I was I forget how old I was now when he was fighting Aldo. Up all night, man. Trying to stay up all night, eyes in 13 seconds.
Unbelievable.
Straight into bed after then. Happy days.
What's it feel like to be compared to Conor McGregor as the boxing version?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. You know, we're both after. Like, I'm on my own path, obviously. You know, that's the thing when you're Irish. Everyone's like, "Oh, Conor McGregor," but he's a massive influence on everybody, and every young person that fights is because of Conor McGregor. It is like, you know, and he's the most famous Irish person ever. No matter where you go in the world, you say, I'm Irish, and somebody says, oh, Conor McGregor. You know?
Or ask you if you know him.
Yeah. But you know what? The funny thing is, I only met him for the first time at the John Jones fight. Really? First time, and the first time.
Not that long ago?
Not that long ago, yeah. And the first time I met McGregor, he knew who I was.
That's got to be a crazy ball.
That, like, a man that I've watched since I was like 11, 12 years old. I'm sitting in my seat at the UFC. McGregor walks in, I'm thinking, shit, because I know he was sitting 2 rows ahead of me, and I seen his name, and I was waiting for him to come in, and he walks in trying to act cool, like, no, I'm just sitting in my seat. Everybody's calling him, and he looked around, and he looked back again, and he saluted me. I was like, Conor McGregor's up, and there was boys sitting alongside me, you know, there was all NFL boys, and they were like, oh, do you know him? And I was like, yeah. But I went around the front then, asking for a picture, and I was expecting Joe to be like, oh, I'm Callum Walsh, the boxer. And he looks at me, gets up, and he says, oh, Callum, I love your boxing. I support you all the way up the Irish. And that was one of the craziest things that ever happened to me, I'd say.
You can see Conor has a massive influence in my life too. You know, obviously the council estate kind of mentality to dreaming big, and we've all seen, you know, the documentaries of him in his mum's house saying he's going to be the best, and obviously law of attraction. And I truly see the same thing for you. You know, you're saying things and everything is coming true. And you know, with Conor knowing who you are, and obviously you're flying the flag for Ireland too, that must have given you so much motivation to be like, before you even open your mouth to put that hand out, he knew who you were. He's obviously seen what you're doing. It's incredible, my man.
It just made me realize, like, that you just don't know who's looking at you. You know, I would never have thought that he would be watching my fights, or and even my last fight, he gave me a shout out too. He sent me a video just wishing me good luck and stuff. So that was cool too.
When was so you've gone from COVID, picking up your first fight, 7 fights in, Conor McGregor sitting 2 rounds behind Conor McGregor, Conor saying good luck, up the Irish. This has just been a whirlwind for you, right?
Yeah, I'm always just so calm about it and I'm just enjoying it. But when I do sit back and actually think about it, like if I told myself this 3-4 years ago that I would be sitting here now, even with you, just doing this podcast, or just talking about Conor McGregor, sending me videos, or I would never believe it, and the fact that I just happened to just make this move, it's crazy.
There's so much cliche, motivational quotes out there, but truly, you put in what you want to get out. And you've been able to level up and put yourself in and around these circles because of your work ethic, obviously your fight IQ and that special it that you have. But the belief system, I think a lot of people really don't look at the belief system as much as anything else. Like I came, the story, I came to this country and I had this crazy belief, delusional in many cases, that I was going to be the best.
You have to.
You have to.
It's the only way. And I think that's a big thing. Like back home, everybody's like, how are you going to go out there? You can't do that. Or that's the mindset back home. You can't. Like coming from a small town too. So how are you going to go out there and do that? Or you can't go out there and do that, but you can. But I truly believe that anything you want to do, you just have to go and do it. Everybody says manifest it, and it's true. But the other side is you have to go out and just do it too. Like I can manifest, to go over and sit there, but I have to get up and go over there. That's what I think. It's a lot. Everything's on about manifesting, but I think you just have to go and do it. Just you can sit and think about it all the time, but that's like me. I remember one night, me and one of my very good friends from back home, we were sitting, both of us, and it was either Christmas Eve or it was something like that, and it was raining. Both of us were sitting in my car, and we were up the top of this place in Cove where I'm from. It's like a Londis shop, and they had like all the young people parked there, and it was about 3 a.m. It's just me and him there, and I'm thinking, what are we doing, man? We're like 19, 20 years old. What are we doing? And I was like, I'm just going to go to America. Yeah. I'm just going to go and just figure something out, and I'm just going to go and do it. I'm just going to make something, or I'm going to go and train and see what happens, and here I am.
So relatable, mate. Even the Londis shop.
Oh, yeah.
I felt that at that young age too, that there was so much more out there, and I can see you felt the same way. But again, there was no like stepping stones. There was no blueprint. There was nobody saying, "Hey, you should do it." You just have to jump on a plane and go for it, and that's what you done.
Yeah, I always knew I was here for more. I never wanted to be just. There's nothing wrong with it. Just the average fella, or the average working man. We need them too, but I knew it wasn't for me. I knew I had to work to get stuff that I wanted, but I always knew that I was never going to be just working a 9 to 5, or I wasn't here for that. I was here for more, and I just had to go and pursue the dream.
Yeah, as a rising star in the sport of boxing, and just in general, what challenges have you now faced professionally and personally with all this newfound fame?
There's always just that thought, like I'd love to just go home now and just be a normal fella like with the boys. I'd love to just be at home now doing nothing. There's always it's weird, when I was back just being a normal fella, I was always like, I'd love to be famous, I'd love to be known, I'd love to be a proper famous boxer or whatever, but when you're there, you'd love to just go back. Even when I'm back home now, right, me and the boys used to do, we'd go drinking and we'd be messing and nobody wouldn't care. So when I go home now, it's can't do anything, man. You get caught on camera doing stuff.
You see what happened in Corner.
Oh, absolutely. Well, sometimes I think I'd love to just be at home now, just doing nothing, just going up to the shop and just doing whatever, or go out there and nobody would be like, oh, that's your man. Well, obviously it's the job, these fans and these people that are watching there, that's the reason you're doing it. But there always is though, I'd love to just be just chilling now.
do you still kind of find time though to make sure you have that balance?
Yeah, definitely. You know what?
You got to, bro.
But the fact, I still feel like I'm not like nothing special. No, I'm same as everyone. You know, I don't treat anyone differently because I have this bit of platform. You know, I would never look down on anyone.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just a normal fella. You know, I wouldn't treat anyone different than. When I go home, I just still do the normal stuff I always done. You know, I'll just go out with my friends. We'll just wake up in the morning. We'll just go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, we'll go up to the shop there, but just have nicer stuff. You know, like when I was back home during COVID, all the gyms were closed, like I said, and we set up just a gym out in my friend's shed. We just had a small gym with just waste that we could find from around the place, and we just had a shitty bench, and the bar was all rusty and everything. And John, now when I go home, a gym back home, actually they gave me a proper setup out there. So like,
Beautiful.
I'm still just the same fella. We just have nicer stuff.
What do the guys say about your success?
Yeah,
The boys.
you can't believe it either. It's just like, everybody's thinking the same. Like, how did this even happen? Like, it's just mad how so much has changed. That I just left for a couple of weeks, and next thing, 18 months later, I'm back 3-0 as a pro, and that's the funniest thing. I said I'll be back there in a few weeks. Yeah. 18 months later, I'm back 3-0.
Wow. And obviously these guys that come out to support you, I'm sure too.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing about me too. I have the same friends, you know.
That's right.
And I always have my same friends, you know, since that were there with me when I was just
in school
doing whatever. And when I go home, we're always together, you know. It's the same fellas.
I don't know if it's like a Celtic thing, but there's so much similarities with us, you know, with upbringing and not coming from a silver spoon and keep, you know, treating people how you want to be treated yourself. Because my sort of mentality is the same people you're going to meet going up the ladder will be the same people you meet falling off. But if you treat everybody well, then, you know, that ladder will continue to be, you know, moved, and pegs will be put there, and people will always kind of push you and promote you, and they'll always remember you for whatever experience, right? And, you know, you've got that cheeky Irish charm, I can see, you know, with all your fans too. And that is something, mate, that you should always make sure consciously, no matter how tired you are, just the fans are everything. Oh,
yeah, that's the best thing about being Irish. Everything's a laugh. You're always dying to catch somebody with something. But you know, it's a job, man. I just love having a laugh too. Even if I'm tired or whatever, you could say something and I'll always, you know, laugh. Yeah.
So I'm going to take the interview a little bit differently. Outside of boxing, what hobbies are do you have that maybe nobody knows? You into something? You into like
can I say
Dungeons and Dragons?
I don't know. Can I say it on here? You know, when I'm not boxing, man, I just do just the normal stuff I always done. You know, I love going to the gym. I love training. You know, I love lifting weights and stuff. Like, we've always done that, but I don't do nothing crazy. You know, when I'm not in camp and I'm not training, I just relax, just chill out with my friends. I like to just be normal. We just do same stuff we always done. Last time I was home, to be fair, we went on a holiday. Just went on a lad's holiday.
Where'd you go?
Portugal.
Oh,
and it
dangerous.
Was crazy, man. Crazy.
What are the women like now in Ireland that you got this fame?
Oh, yeah, it's different.
He's like, I don't know if I can tell you some stories, Flax.
There's a few though back in the day, and no, you're Callum Walsh, like, no, you're the boxer.
Yeah, you ignored me a couple of years ago. No.
We'll take him still. We'll take him.
So for us here, Straight Outta The Lair, you know, we pride ourselves on having some incredible athletes that are sat in that chair, you know, from in so many different sports. People I've known for over a decade, from UFC, you know, no boxing, but WWE, strongman, so many different athletes. But I think that you officially are the youngest guy that's ever sat in that chair. But for me, it's I think when we spoke about us doing this, I truly feel like this interview is something that in a few years' time, not even a few years' time, 1, 2, 3 years' time, we'll look back on this and it's going to be one of them like, holy shit, bro, look what you've done.
Yeah.
In 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, whatever it is. Do you have a goal in your mind to achieve something at a certain age? No. I'm
just going with the flow, man. I had no plans on any of this. Just going with the flow. Just taking fight by fight, taking whatever they put in front of me and grabbing it with two hands and just hopefully take everything. And that's what I said to my friends too. It's mad how quick everything's happening. Yeah. Like, imagine 1 year from now. Like, I couldn't even imagine like last year to now. Imagine one more year. it's mad how quick everything is happening. And you know, to be honest, I actually can't wait to look back on this interview in a year and just see.
That's exactly how I feel. When I was sitting down this morning, in fact, me and my producer were talking prior to jumping on, and you know, Tyus is not privy to boxing, but I said, you just sit back and watch now. And as every guest that I've brought in, he ends up, you know, diving deep into finding out more about them, and this is going to be one of these interviews that, you know, I'd be hitting you back up in a year's time. It's like, hey Callum, can you get you back up? Flex, oh bro, you got to go through my people, and don't turn into that guy. That's all.
No, I'll never be that guy. I'd say, no, we'll come back in a year, and I'll be that guy.
Yeah, no. Listen, I'm very, very happy for all your success. And you know, in wrapping up this interview, is there anything you want to push, promote, talk about? The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, just anybody that's watching here that is into boxing, or, you know, wants to see a change in boxing, I am going to be the change in boxing. And make sure, if you want to see me, tune into my fight August 26th, live on UFC Fight Pass.
Man, listen, for me personally, I think this is what boxing needs. This is the fresh breath of air. You know, homegrown talent that's come from amateur route, has an incredible amateur career, one that has, you know, been earned. And the fact that you have such a very unique story where your path to professional boxing wasn't laid down in this grand scheme of things. And here you are, as I've said, 7 fights later, and now being pushed as the future of the sport of boxing. And my man, that is an incredible feat. And actually, before I leave, one thing I do have on top of you. I was sitting closer to the UFC ring than you, my friend.
You were the top left corner. Yeah, I was at the back.
Yeah, before we shoot off, I do have to say this story. We first met at UFC 282, I think it was. It was Paddy Pimblett was fighting.
Because I remember we were standing next to each other when he was walking.
Yeah. So shout out to Dana and Hunter Campbell. They give me incredible seats. It was actually my wife's birthday.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
they had to give it a good one. So.
Well, Mons still look after me. They gave me the good seats normally, right? And then I've been to multiple different fights, and they kind of put me in the same area. But because it was my wife's birthday, they gave her, you know, there's no. So
they didn't even give it to you. They gave it to her.
Thanks, bro. They give it to her. And there's no numbers to them seats. So when we walked in, of course, you walk in. I've sat in Dana's section, you know. But I've never sat there. It was kind of, in that row was myself and Dave Portnoy, the Barstool guy. They were obviously there for Paddy. They sponsor him.
Yeah, they had the wigs and stuff.
They had the wigs on. They were going ballistic. And that was a crazy controversial card, actually.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, because even Jan and Magomedov, they had that draw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild card. And then Paddy's fight against Jared, right?
Yeah. He needs that rematch. Right?
Yeah, I think they need that rematch. But anyway, before we start going into specifics of white fights, just to clarify again, I sat closer to the front than you. Yeah. I don't know how long this is going to last, but before long, you're going to be turning around and I'd be in the nosebleeds and you'd be like texting me, Flax, is that you with the red hat on? But no, it's amazing, mate. And in closing this podcast, thank you for coming in here. Obviously, it's your Sunday. You've just done your, some media here this past weekend at in Las Vegas for UFC Fight Pass, promoting your fight. You were at this past weekend's UFC card, which was a banger, absolute banger.
Yeah, well, it cost me $1,200.
What did?
I had a 5-fight accumulator. Bo Nickel, Dan Hooker, Drulikas, Brandon Moreno, controversial loss, and I had Volkanovski. $50, man. I would have been up $1,200. Brandon Moreno. Dana White owes me $50.
Dana giving inside tips. Well, Usman cost me my last parlay. So, listen, Usman, I love you. If you see this, you're coming on my podcast because I want to tell you this. It was one of these wild 10-fight parlays. 6-fight parlay, all main card, and
so I had 5, and that decision
I know.
Thought he'd done enough. No,
I thought he'd done enough. I thought he'd done enough. But, so Usman cost me my parlay. Moreno cost yours. But I'm not taking it personal, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my man. Well, we will be probably seeing each other in a lot more fights. But until then, if I don't see you at one of the UFC fights, I will be seeing you in August at yours.
I'll make sure to put you in the back. That's what you're getting for that UFC seating. I'll make sure you're sitting in the back and wait for you.
Do you know I still have to edit this podcast? You know that, right? I could turn the pitch down. You could have like this high pitch Irish accent. Like, does he sound like this? No, but my man, it is a true pleasure, and thank you again for giving up your Sunday. With doing all these media obligations, like you said, you just came from SneakerCon straight here, and we will be doing a lot more in the future. But from me to you, mate, it's a pleasure. I'm excited to see your rise. I'm excited to see what you are going to achieve, and you will be achieving greatness. You have everything going for you, from the fight IQ, the genetic side of things, of the power in the punches, and you've got the guys that can truly put you in the right steeds and get you promoted in the right way, from your manager all the way to Dana White and all these sponsors now that are chasing your ass all the way from Nike to everything else is incredible. So from the humble upbringing of Ireland, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the bright lights of Las Vegas, my friend, headlining many cards in the future. And regardless, even if I'm sitting in the nosebleeds or sitting in front row, I'll be sporting King Callum Walsh.
Absolutely, boss. I appreciate you even for being here now on a Sunday. This is a massive opportunity for me here to be on your podcast, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, my friend. Straight Out The Lair, King Callum Walsh, Flex Lewis, out.